Good morning. It's Thursday and you're watching WGXA Morning News on ABC 16. I'm Brittany Miller filling in this morning for Terrell Bailey. This morning, many Georgian voters are at risk of being kicked off the state registry. Community members gathered in Macon yesterday to talk about ways to end violence. They did so by sharing their own personal horror stories of what's happened to them or their families. Well, we have lots of little ones headed back to school this week, and the weather can definitely impact the most important part of the day, Gary, recess. We're going to send things over to you for the latest. What should boys and girls expect today? Cost of one trip, just $233,000. How do you feel about living miles above the ground for about a week, Gary?
I don't know if I would like that, especially going to the North Pole. Why can't they go to somewhere like Hawaii or something like instead of the North Pole?
Well, if you go to Hawaii or something, then you don't get the chance to meet Santa Claus. Duh.
That is true.
Bricks like these used to be a part of the wall behind me, but they came crashing down after a pickup truck ran into it. Macon is on track to match last year's record-breaking number of homicides after the 10th homicide of this year fell almost a year to the day to the 10th homicide last year. Typically, this is where you'd hear from someone who lives in that neighborhood, but those who live on Mikado Avenue didn't want to go on camera because they were scared of retaliation. Though many of our requests went unanswered, WGXA is still working for you to find out if Macon-Bibbs ambulance service agreements are enough when you're waiting for a lifeline. Just a few minutes after 10 o'clock, the last deputy turned off his lights and pulled away. But before that, nearly a dozen deputies were surrounding the Bibb County Sheriff's Office. When we got to this scene, the first thing we asked was this a drill? Deputies didn't answer, but take a look at what we saw. It has been a very emotional scene as family and friends have gathered. Certainly not the news that a mother wants to receive the day after Mother's Day. You can see families still gathered on this scene, questioning what has happened to their loved ones. It was on this dark strip of Harrison Road, only lit by nearby businesses, that 35-year-old Maisha Glenn was hit by an SUV last night just after sunset. Early this morning, just before 9 o'clock, 41-year-old Timothy Price called the Centerville police asking for help because he had just shot his wife. When police got here to this home, they tried to make contact with Mr. Price and no one answered, so they went around to the back. You can see it's not fenced in, where they saw glass on the ground, so they called in the special response team with Houston County. Brandon Washington's girlfriend says that he was a loving and caring partner and father who didn't deserve what happened to him. And she didn't just say that because she knew and loved him, but because she was here at this Circle K this morning and watched him die.
He didn't do anything to them. He didn't. Like, he was innocent. They just shot him for no reason.
CIARA BURKE watched as her boyfriend, the father of her child, 23-year-old Brandon Washington, was gunned down in a Circle K parking lot. She says the two teenagers who started a fight with Brandon and then pulled the trigger were strangers. The
boys just looked him up and down and said, "What's up?" and swung at him. They missed. He swung back and he pushed the boy off of him. And one of the boys said, "Don't touch my brother no more," and shot him.
The two boys started kicking Brandon, so she shielded his head and face with her own body.
And then I called 911. She can barely hear me because I was panicking and everything like that. And she said, "Check his pulse."
A customer in the gas station parking lot put two fingers on Brandon's neck and told CIARA he was still alive. But by the time the ambulance arrived, the young father was already gone.
That's all I see when I close my eyes. Like, that's all I see when I close my eyes.
Memories of his death, but also his life as a man who loved playing football
for Tweeds County High School, and his jersey number was number 56.
And loved his 8-month-old daughter, Summer.
But it's sad that he can't be there, like, when she first turns 1. He can't be there to see her first steps, take her first steps. He can't be there to see any of that.
Brandon, CIARA, and their baby girl had just come back from their first vacation as a family. Brandon Washington's death marks the 18th homicide in Macon just this year. Reporting live on Zebulon Road, Brittany Miller, WGXA News. The Brookdale Warming Center is more than just a place for the homeless to lay their head. Richard Chambliss Jr. is proof of that.
These people push you here to get your life in order.
For the past month, Richard has been experiencing homelessness for the first time.
It's hard. eye-opening.
Using all of the city's resources, from loaves and fishes to daybreak, Richard ended up on a van headed to Brookdale. The chance for him to grow out of his situation happened at the blink of an eye.
Everything just kind of happened, one thing after another, boom, boom, boom.
In his first few days at the center, one of the social workers stopped him as he walked into the cafeteria. They were in the middle of a phone call, and on the other end of that call was opportunity.
And said, I have someone who can come in and work for you right now. And 30 minutes later, I was in the lift going to grow on Riverside. I've been working there ever since.
Richard says the first few days working as a dishwasher were hectic, but after being out of work for 8 months, he's thankful for the job that was just waiting around the corner.
Everyone's very welcoming and loving and caring. I love everyone there.
Not to mention thankful for the place that's helping turn a trying time into a testimony.
I just feel extremely blessed, and I'm grateful for everything that I've been able to do. All the doors that are opening and the opportunities that are coming at me.
Councilman Jimmy Barnes was scheduled to do an on-camera interview with me this afternoon, but he canceled an hour before we were supposed to meet. Soon after, we learned that he was arrested by the Peach County Sheriff's Office, accused of threatening to shoot a woman in the face and calling her racial slurs. So we went back to the laundromat where it all happened. Aggravated assault and terroristic threats are the charges a Fort Valley City Councilman is now facing. Jimmy Barnes is accused of threatening to shoot a woman in the face and calling her the N-word multiple times outside of a laundromat. When I told Dick Larry Boyd exactly what the councilman said, this was his reaction.
The councilman?
Citizens were both shocked and confused by the actions of the man they voted into power, including one woman who didn't want to go on camera. She's a regular at the laundromat.
I've seen him several times, and to see him, you wouldn't think that something like that would come out of his mouth.
Some describe the actions Barnes is accused of as inappropriate.
Because if it was just a lay person out here doing that, they would come and drag and arrest him. Wouldn't be no doubt about what he's charged with. He's going to be charged with threatening to kill, all kind of stuff. So he's no different.
But once past the initial shock of what the police report says Barnes did, these people say what they really feel is frightened.
It makes me scared to, know that someone feels like that and would boldly say something like that in a public place.
Because now he could have meant it. And you wouldn't be here asking me about him being arrested. He'd have a murder charge.